For sports officials continues deep into the winter sports season. And while finding someone to officiate a basketball game might be tough, the candidate pool for hockey is even smaller. And it's a problem schools and clubs are facing nationwide. But the North Dakota State Referee-in-Chief says that isn't necessarily the case here.
It's always a little tougher just because the number one credential that you have is that you can skate. And then you have to be a little thick-skinned, as we say.
Thor Nelson is the top dog when it comes to North Dakota's hockey refs. Prior to his current role, his resume speaks for itself.
I'm a kid from Minot, North Dakota. I worked 2 Olympics, and I worked in the NHL for 23 years. So anybody can do it. It's just a matter of, taking that next step and putting yourself out there.
After taking off his skates, he's seen the officiating numbers fluctuate, injuries being the big concern when trying to bring back veteran officials.
We're out dodging a frozen rock, basically, and the difference for us is we're always on the playing surface. We can't ever get off of it.
Current ref Jordan Kelly knows this all too well.
You definitely got to keep your head up, kind of react to the play, know where it's going. Face-offs get a little tricky depending on the players.
A lot of lacerations. Skates are awful sharp, so if you happen to fall and a skate steps on your hand, there's no coming back from that. You're out for a while. A lot of the falls are tough. We had a couple of senior officials that fell. One guy broke both arms in one season, so he decided that was the end of his career, and he now officiates football.
But the injuries haven't stopped officials like Kelly from coming back year after year. He's been reffing games for nearly 2 decades.
I actually really missed hockey. I was into it for a while, and then once kind of lost touch with it, but then you get to the point where you come to the games and you're like, you want to get back out there, and it just brings the feeling back of getting on the ice and hanging out.
Nelson says the referee retention rate is about 25%. Recruiting former players early has helped to keep the numbers high in North Dakota.
If we can keep them after 2 years, we can hang on to them throughout their career, whether it's a 10-year career or 30.
The young kids really kind of like being out there with the older guys and getting the experience with them and learning. It's just more, I'd say, getting them involved. The more they can work with the older official, the higher they're going to try to pursue it.
Kyle Stevens is a former player who's been skating since he was a toddler.
To be honest, to start with, it was just for extra money, but then I kind of fell in love with it.
10 years later, he's officiated all levels, from high school to college and even junior league.
There's a lot of room for growth. We've got a lot of good contacts here in Minot, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Which is something Nelson and Kelly can agree with.
It sure is fun to watch the kids that grow up in our community move on, and we have 7 officials from Minot, North Dakota that have worked world championships. That's a pretty good feather in our cap in a small town.
It's just fun to be out here, and you see these kids when they start out little, and you ref them all the way through, and then all of a sudden they're reffing with you. So it's fun.
But it's not all fun and games for the rest of the country. Nelson says USA Hockey is down about 40% for officials.
There are states on the East Coast that are canceling between 50 and 70 hockey games a weekend for youth sports, which is it's a tragedy for the kids, but without the officials, they just can't have the games.
Right now, North Dakota has more than 700 registered hockey officials in the state. But that doesn't mean it's easy to fully staff every game.
It's difficult for an official to work more than 3 games on a Saturday. Has it happened? Yes, we've had officials that have worked 5 games on a Saturday. But we don't encourage that. Sometimes it's what the numbers dictate that we have to do. We try to have different officials work the games all the time, so the teams don't see the same official over and over. So yeah, the more officials we have, the better things work.
Nelson says when he really needs officials, they always answer the call.
To their credit, we said the game needs you, and they're back, and it helps the game, and we can keep playing.
Nelson says if you would like to become a hockey official, he encourages you to reach out to a school's athletic director or go to the USA Hockey website for details on how to get involved.